This is the new Audi Q4 e-tron. This is Audi's best-selling EV. Since it was launched in 2021, it hasn't changed a whole lot. So now, to keep it competitive with the latest versions of the Tesla Model Y, the Mercedes GLB, and even the BMW iX1, Audi have given it some much-needed updates. So, what's changed and how is it better? You're watching Autogefuehl의, I'm AJ, and let's dive right in. Up front, not too much has changed in terms of design. I do like the color that's matched with the body color here for the front grille. 2D Audi logo as well. Of course, being an EV, aerodynamics is the name of the game, and they've been able to reduce the coefficient of drag, including things like adding these channels here for the air at the front of the bumper. These matrix LED lights have also been improved, so now you can choose the signature you like, and I'll show you how that works a little bit later on. Not much has changed on the side. You get, of course, the SUV body or the Sportback body. It's still a little bit over 4.6 meters, so it's grown just a little bit in size. But what is new, for example, are some new wheel designs. So the wheels start at 19 inches and you can get up to 21 inches as well. This, for example, is a nice new design for a 20-inch wheel. You can also have this design and a couple others in a full black finish. So if you want like a very stealthy look, you have that option now. This is the S-Line, so you get an S-Line badging. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the features, but for this new version update, they've packed in a lot of standard features that before you had to optionally equip. So you get a little bit more equipment as standard across the range, even if you don't go for one of the higher trims. Traditional SUV body style, very classic signature Audi C-pillar here, but do you notice what's down there? It's a drum brake. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but in general, a very neat design. What do you think? Here at the back, these OLED lights are new. As you might know from some of the other Audi models, they have different animations, including if a car comes really close to the back of this, they get really bright. So pretty cool animations, and like the LED lights in the front, you can choose the signature, and we'll show you that in a minute. Further aerodynamic improvements such as this diffuser, and if you look over there, you can see the Quattro badge. So of course, this means you can have the Q4 e-tron as a rear-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive. So you get two battery pack options, 59 or 77 net kilowatt hours. It's still on the 400 volt MEB architecture. So yes, you get a new APP 350 motor for the rear or the APP 550, but it still has, as you can see, drum brakes. But hey, that's fun. Now in terms of charging, because of the 400 volt architecture, you can only do DC fast charging up to 185 kilowatts, depending on the battery. So 10% to 80% at best, you can expect something around 27 minutes. So it's not as good as the GLB's 800 volt architecture. But a couple of good things, of course, is that the towing capacity has now increased to 1,800 kilograms, so that's up by a little bit from the previous version. And the best range, the claimed best range, is 595 kilometers. Let's play a little game. Go down in the comments and let me know, do you think there's going to be a frunk? I kind of gave it away already, telling you that this is still on the 400 volt MEB architecture. Are you ready? Drum roll. And no frunk. But that's all right. I think, re-engineering this engine compartment to liberate more room would have only done so much, and it wouldn't have been a good trade-off for the limited storage capacity that you would get. Now that we're here, a couple more interesting details. The different versions, so rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, the different motors and battery specs, you get power outputs ranging from 150 kilowatts up to 250 kilowatts. And the top spec, so the big battery with the Quattro performance system, you get a 0 to 100 kilometers per hour acceleration in 5.4 seconds. There's a lot more to talk about on the interior, so let's take a closer look. First, let's talk a little bit about the door. I do like how padded it is. It's pretty thick, so I'm sure that translates to better noise insulation. Of course, as you can imagine, we're not going to get to drive this car here today. So make sure you're subscribed to our channel, because pretty soon we will get to do our full road test, and you don't want to miss our final overview of how this behaves in the real world. But for now, back to the door. Good materials on the top here. Yeah, some materials are a little bit harder like this, but I think overall the quality has a nice perception at least. There's padded materials here and on the armrest. And it might sound silly, but I'm so happy to see 4 window switches and a manual control for the mirror. Such luxury in 2026. Plenty of storage as well. Now, if we take a look at the seats, again, you have different upholstery options. If you don't want to have leather, you can have a fabric upholstery for the seats in the lower variants. So you do have an option to go more vegan friendly if you like. But clearly, that is the big new talking point. So let's jump in. The interior is definitely a big upgrade in my opinion compared to the current version. So I do like this soft wrap material that they have spanning from door to door across the shelf here in the dashboard. It's got a nice matte finish. It's really easy to rest your hand on this when you're operating the infotainment. Speaking of which, a nice big panoramic digital stage with a digital instrument cluster and this 12.8-inch infotainment screen here angled towards the driver, so it's really easy to operate and view this. But your passengers are also well catered to, because you can also get the optional 12-inch passenger display. And actually, I can't really see what's going on right now, so it has a dynamic filter so that the driver is not distracted by your passenger watching Autogefuehl의 on YouTube on long road trips. Plenty of storage facilities as well. A nice damped glove box with a clip for a pen, some coins, a garage remote. So really nice, although it's not felt lined. So a little bit of a hit and miss there. There's also a nice little cubby down here. You have a couple inductive phone charging pads. Nice to see that they're ventilated. You can also choose the drive select mode from this centerpiece here, and the hazard lights are easy to identify. A small touch capacitive circle here for your volume and for your media. This is where you shift the gears, so that hasn't changed, but I also like to see that you have a quick button, a shortcut to jump to the parking cameras. This is always super useful when you're in narrow parking garages. Nice cup holders. I also love that there's these little lights inside, so adds to the ambiance. And finally, a sliding armrest, nice and padded. And inside, there's plenty of storage, really deep, and you have a couple USB-C ports. Let's take a quick look at the new technology here. Couple things to note. There's also ChatGPT, which is included into this, so easier to have voice commands that are more natural, more complex multitask commands that you can now talk to the car. It's also running on Android Automotive. Like we were talking about earlier, you also have some new fun light features. So you can choose the different light signatures on the outside, as you can see here, and that will of course reflect what you see in the signature outside. You also have, of course, a lot of ambient lighting, like you can see down here, that you can change. They have brought back a lot of buttons, but the air conditioning control is still here in a touch menu. The steering wheel is really nice because now, finally, they have brought back physical buttons. Although this whole piece is one unit, but at least it's a tactile button that clicks in. So you can choose, like for example, a shortcut, your steering wheel heating, and it's a nice deep click. It's not a soft touch. You got to really press it in, which I really like. And more importantly, you don't have sliders anymore. You have nice clicking rollers for the volume and here on the menu. Of course, being a digital display, you have different views that you can choose from, standard affair. And once we really get our hands on the car to test it out, we'll see how these different things work. Finally, also what's fun is that they have an augmented reality head-up display. But of course, unfortunately, I can't really test that out today, but I'm curious to see how it actually works in practice. Being an EV, there's a lot of space on the interior, the Q4 e-tron was always well regarded for their interior space, and that continues here with this new facelift. So, the brake pedal to the back seat, so the interior volume or the interior length, is still very, very good. I'm 5'8", or about 1.7 meters. This is set to roughly my driving position, a little bit more generous in fact, so probably something for somebody almost 5'10", and doesn't matter because you can see how much space I have for my knees. If the seat was a little bit higher, I would have had more space to slide my feet underneath, but still not too bad. Yes, battery pack on the floor, but good. No central transmission tunnel or a hump in this case, and it's not too knees up. I mean, I wouldn't sit like this. I would stretch my legs out a little bit. And then there is decent amount of under-thigh support. Panoramic glass roof also brings in good light. And headroom, more than adequate. So it's a very comfortable place to be here. Air conditioning controls, power sockets galore, seat heating as well. I'm sure some of these are optional depending on your market. You might need to spec that separately. Isofix points for the outside 2 seats and the passenger seat. So 3 child seats inside. Armrest with a cup holder. And even if you take a quick look at the door here, there's plenty of nice storage here. And even, you can put a lot of items here. So very nice ergonomic design. All right, so let's take a look in the trunk. SUV gets 512 liters of boot space. The Sportback clearly is a little bit larger, so that has 527 liters with the seats up. It's a nice flat loading bay. You have this floor that you can put further down, but it's easy to have these charging cables down here. What's also new and an Audi first is if you look right over here, you see that there is vehicle to load. So yes, there is bi-directional charging now, and you can do vehicle to load or even vehicle to home. So here we have a Sportback of the Q4 e-tron. This is also a new color that's now available. It's called Sage Green. Speaking of colors, this is also the black 21-inch wheels, so pretty cool as well. But of course, this is the talking point. This is the nice signature Audi Sportback design. I do prefer the look of this with the nice integrated spoiler. What do you think? Which of the two do you prefer? Put it down in the comments below. The Q4 e-tron starts at around 47,500 euros, and you can start booking this for yourself in the summer of 2026. But be sure to subscribe to our channel because pretty soon we'll get a chance to test this in the real world, and then we can compare it with things like the new Juniper, Tesla Model Y, the GLB from Mercedes, and some of its other key competitors, and tell you how it stacks up against the competition. But for now, I'm going to use this vehicle to load function and get myself some popcorn.